Hey guys, Bearded Nate, Pokemon Day is just around the corner, so let's take a look at what we could potentially be seeing. Let's go. So as I said, Pokemon Day is just around the corner. It's going to be on Monday the 27th of February at 2 PM UK time for approximately 20 minutes of Pokemon news. So starting off, the big thing that we all know is coming, and that's going to be the Scarlet and Violet DLC. Now, we're not sure how it's going to come. There are people saying it's going to come in one wave around November time, but there's a lot of talk that they're going to do exactly what they did with Sword and Shield, the Isle of Armor, and Crown Tundra, and it's going to come in two waves. Hopefully one around summertime and one around that time a Pokemon game releases in November. What do we know about these DLCs already? Well, as you've probably seen if you've played Scarlet and Violet, there is a big section on the northeast of the map that is kind of all blocked and greyed out. There's so many rumours and hopeful wishes that this is going to be kind of like Kalos in way, you know, Kalos from X and Y games, because Spain and France are so close together. They touch borders, I think. My geography is terrible. I'm sure they do. So yeah, we're thinking maybe it's going to be Kalos, especially as there are some of the Kalos exclusive Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet, thinking Go-Go and Skidoo for one. But yeah, that would be probably the best thing that anyone is wishing for, and that is to go back to Kalos, or potentially part of Kalos. Next is the possibility of the third legendary. If you've been following Riddler Coup on Twitter, you know that he has been teasing this Pokemon for months. So he started off, I think only a week or two ago, he put up like a, God, my shape's a hexagon up on the screen, and then every other day he'd updated it, and it looks to be more and more like a turtle shell. And from what A-Drive's reporting and other PokeTubers are reporting, it could potentially be something relating to what's known as the World Turtle. I'll put a couple of images up on the screen as we go. The normal images of a giant turtle with 4 elephants on its back holding up the world. So we're thinking that maybe the third legendary for Scarlet and Violet is going to be all around this World Turtle. And it also, the shape is also the same as the terrestrialized little logo on the hats that Pokemon wear when they are terrestrialized, and it has little eyes. So we're thinking that it's going to be all around that. Next is about the 2 sub-legendary Pokemon. So if you've played Scarlet and Violet in detail and you've read absolutely everything, you'll know that there are 2 books, the Scarlet book and the Violet book, and within each of those games there is a new legendary Pokemon. For, I want to say for Scarlet, it resembles kind of a Entei Suicune hybrid. I also think it's got a little bit of Raikou in. I don't think it's just 2 specific legendary dogs. I think it's a combination of all 3. And for the Scarlet, you've got the Virizion Cobalion. But again, I think there's also a bit of Terrakion in there as well. Again, looking at these images, we know that they come directly from Scarlet and Violet, so there is no doubt these Pokemon are going to be in the DLC. And of course, with the introduction of Paradox Pokemon in base Scarlet and Violet, we're also hoping that the DLC introduces us to some new Paradox Pokemon, both from the future and the present for Scarlet and Violet. But let me know in the comments below, guys, what Pokemon do you want to see have a brand new Paradox form? For me, I'd love to see some of the starters get the Paradox treatment. Obviously, Bulbasaur being my favourite Pokemon, I'd love to kind of see a prehistoric kind of Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur line. That would just be mind-blowing. I guess if they are going to do a Paradox Pokemon, it will more than likely be bloody Charizard, but you know, any starter at this point would be fantastic. And with the DLC, we're hopefully going to see some maybe potentially new Pokemon, just like Sword and Shield DLC. We got Calyrex and we got Kubfu and his evolved form. I want to say Ursaring, but it's not Ursaring. Urshifu. We saw Urshifu. So hopefully potentially some new Pokemon in the DLC, and hopefully a couple of new Paldean regions as well, because we only got Wooper in Scarlet and Violet, right? But let's see what comes in the Scarlet and Violet DLC. Moving on, we know they're going to talk about the home update and the implementation of being able to transfer Pokemon to and from Scarlet and Violet. There are also a load of other Pokemon that are in the game currently but are locked. So all of the Pokemon Legends Arceus exclusives, so you're talking Weirdeer, Ursaluna, the Hisuian Sneasel and Sneasler, and Cleavor as well. So all of those Pokemon, their data are in the game, but they're currently locked. So hopefully once the home update has rolled out, we'll be able to transfer Pokemon from Arceus into home and then home to Scarlet and Violet. I'd like to also see some form of implementation where we can take Pokemon from Sword and Shield into Scarlet and Violet, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up on my wish list is the Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 date announcement. Last year, I think it was Nintendo announced in their Nintendo Direct that Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 was coming to the Nintendo Switch Online N64 emulator. I am super excited for this. So hopefully Pokemon potentially give us a date. It could also potentially be one of those things where it says after this Direct, Stadium 1 and 2 is now available online. Fingers crossed. I am so excited to have these games back and playing, all for the mini games. If you are a 90s kid into early 2000s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of those mini games you would lose hours on. The one I hated the most though was the Clefairy memory game where the arrows and you had to remember the combinations. My memory is shockingly shite. But yes, we are getting Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2, so fingers crossed a date announcement at the least. Next up is a potentially new mystery dungeon game. Over on Twitter, PMD Gang has posted a line of code that shows the copyright text Spike Chunsoft. So Chunsoft are the developers that made the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, and the fact that this has been updated to 2023 shows that potentially we're going to be getting a new Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Pokemon Sleep, originally announced, God, it must be going on 4 or 5 years ago now. Pokemon Sleep is a new app that you can download onto your mobile devices, and with a new Pokemon Go Plus, I think it's called Pokemon Go Plus Plus. With a new gadget, you can now kind of raise and capture Pokemon while you sleep. No more information was ever announced about this game when it was revealed a few years ago, but it appears that a new patent has cropped up online talking about the mechanics of the game. I'll show a screenshot here. Not much more information can be learned from the patent, but we're kind of hoping, fingers crossed, that a little bit more information about Pokemon Sleep is finally around the corner, so keep your eyes open for that. As always, we're probably going to have some Pokemon Unite news, potentially a couple of new Pokemon being added to the roster. I think rumours at the moment, the big one is going to be Umbreon. It seems that every other or every third Pokemon is going to be an evolution, and the next one coming up is hopefully Umbreon. That might actually get me back into playing Pokemon Unite. I stopped playing a few months ago. Actually, typically around the launch of Scarlet and Violet, and that has been taking up all my time. But there we go, Umbreon for Pokemon Unite, and I'm sure they'll tease 1 or 2 other Pokemon along the way. Just a couple of quick mentions about some of the mobile games. Pokemon Cafe Remix will more than likely get mentioned, with a couple of new Pokemon appearing, maybe a new mechanic within the game. Pokemon Masters EX will probably get introduced to a couple of new characters and their partner Pokemon. And Pokemon Go, I'm not sure what they'll do with Pokemon Go, seeing as the Hoenn Tour was the weekend before. Maybe they'll just go over the fact that Mega Latias and Latios are now available in 5-tier raids, but that's probably about it for Pokemon Go. And the last thing that I'm expecting to kind of see before we move on to some of the more absurd stuff that I can only wish to see is the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet TCG. The first English set is due to release on March 31st. So potentially they'll show off a couple of the new EX cards, maybe show off a couple of the new mechanics that come with the new TCG. We've already seen the majority of the cards that have released in Japan, so maybe we'll see the English variants. And yeah, I mean, let me know, guys, in the comments below if you're excited for the new TCG. Are you glad to see the back of the VMAXs and V-Star cards and get back to old school EX cards? But let's move on to the 3 big things that I'm hoping to see on Pokemon Day this year. Did I say 3 big things? I meant 2 big things that I'm hoping to see some form of mention on in the Pokemon Direct this year. The first one being the introduction of the old school Pokemon games from the Game Boy, Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. A lot of people are talking about this at the moment. With the Nintendo Direct only last week, they announced that the Game Boy, Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advanced emulators will be joining the Nintendo family on Nintendo Switch Online, which just got people talking even more about the potential of bringing Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Crystal, Fire Red and Leaf Green over to the Nintendo Switch Online. What do you think about this news? There are a couple of graphics going around saying that they'll release on the 31st of March. Take these as a grain of salt. Nothing official has been announced. But holy crap, how amazing would that be? Yes, we've replayed them 100 times over. Yes, they were released on the 3DS. But with the 3DS eShop closing any week now, we're going to lose availability to be buying those Pokemon games again. So it would only make sense to bring them over to the Nintendo Switch Online services. The emulator is what I'm trying to say. So there is big potential there to see these games come over to the Nintendo Switch, and I for one would be super excited. The only thing that people are asking for is if these games come over, would they be compatible with home? I'm going to say a big no for that. I don't think there'll be any compatibility. The games would have to be completely reworked and recoded to have any functionality with home. But we'll have to wait and see. And the last thing that I really hope that we'll see or get a bit of information on is the remake or the remaster of Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon Gales of Darkness, respectively on the GameCube and the Wii. I do not think we will get these games remaked or remastered whatsoever. There's no leaks, no rumours about this. This is just me wishful thinking that we could potentially get these games on Nintendo Switch Online. So there we go, guys. That is what I'm expecting to come out of the Pokemon Day event on Monday the 27th of February, 2 PM UK time. Don't forget that date or time. The big one obviously being the Scarlet and Violet DLC. What are you hoping to come out? Are you hoping for one big DLC in November, or are you happy to break it up into 2 like they did for Sword and Shield? Let me know in the comments. The other thing that I didn't touch upon that I probably should have done right at the beginning is the bug fixes and fingers crossed performance issue fixes for Scarlet and Violet. That should hopefully be rolled out on Monday directly after the Direct. So yes, hopefully we can say goodbye to Lake Lag, but we'll have to wait and see. As always, if you're new and enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and all of the comments below that I've asked you to leave, and I will catch you on the next one. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.